Welcome to Right versus Left. I'm Rob B.
And I'm Brad Lee.
And I'm Brian G.
And here today we're going to be talking about the death of feminism, God willing. I think it's kind of clear that something has gone horribly wrong in Western society. And I think feminism is the reason why. Like early in the 2010s, like they said that feminism was dead. I think it's definitely dead now with everything that's going on. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and kind of actually the historical route that feminism took over time. Obviously, I'd say the feminist movement started with suffrage, which is kind of funny how this movement started. It starts with everything the left tries to do socially, where they go out and take care of people that they feel aren't able to take care of themselves. So, and what I mean by this is the way they are with Black people. Oh, well, we can't have voter IDs. That's not good for Black people. Oh, we can't have crime punished because it's not good for Black people. Well, it started with suffrage. Back before the 1900s, the actual support rate for suffrage amongst women was 4%. They didn't want to be more active in politics because they wanted to focus on their duties in the house and raising their children, because that was what they found value in. And it was actually a push by leftist men who basically forced women, because they weren't able to vote to ratify the 19th Amendment. It was men that forced it on them. So first they were forced into voting, and then during World War II, we needed extra labor because the men were off fighting the war, and so women got forced into the factory roles. And what that kind of did was, the men obviously still got their payments for being in the military. So it suddenly turned most of the households of America into two-income households, which, when you have extra money chasing the same goods, and actually less goods because of all the restrictions for the wartime, like couldn't buy anything metal really, it ended up causing hyperinflation. So by the time the war ended and the men came home, you had to have two-income families. So suddenly women were forced to stay out of the house. And I think post-World War II, I think that's where you saw the beginning of the declines of society, and ironically coincided with feminism.
But you have to say the modern feminism, because feminism's been around for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years.
True. But you go back to the Queens of England and Cleopatra, and women could achieve power. That was always a possibility.
Yeah.
But I think it had more to do with the women not really wishing to attain that power.
I just saying it's modern day feminism that is the problem, is most definitely the problem.
Yeah. Go back to ancient Rome. Men and women were equal. Women were just as allowed to sleep with their brothers and sisters and cousins as men were.
Yeah. Well, for each other, yeah. I think feminism, you can trace almost most of the problems we're having in the U.S. today, you can trace back to what feminism has done to modern day U.S. I think feminism was extremely important. I just think it's gone way, 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 way too far.
So what do you think, Brad?
What do I think? I think a lot of women back before this women's suffrage movement and the suffrage movement, there was a lot of women who didn't want to vote because they didn't want to be subject to the same things that men were, like the draft and bucket duty, you know. They didn't want to have to do all that just to be able to vote. And look at, they got ended up getting what they wanted in the first place anyways, because they don't have to sign up for the draft. They don't have to do the mandatory fire service, but I mean nobody does now because we have volunteers for that stuff. But yeah, I mean they're
Yeah,
they're equal to or greater than. See, I had a problem with my wife's cousin. She was like, she goes, I asked her, I said, so you think a man should know how to do the dishes and the laundry and stuff? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, I can agree with that. I think a man should know how to do that. But then at the same time, do you think that a woman should have to take out the trash or mow the lawn? She goes, no. And I go, well, why not? And she goes, well, that's a man's job. Ooh,
or
that's
fix the car,
right.
or repair the
Exactly.
house.
I'm like, it's not you're equal to or greater than. I'm like, if you want equal rights, you get equal rights. You can't
And
pick and
equal
choose.
responsibility.
You don't get to pick or choose your equals.
So the funny thing about the suffrage movement is the men that were pushing it because they wanted their wives to be able to vote. So it'd
And
be
they
a
wanted
second
them
vote, but they wanted.
right. Exactly.
Yeah, they thought they'd keep control and tell their wives what to do.
Right. And it was men who got that legislation passed.
Yep.
Just
So
like it was just like it was men that supposedly gave them a right to abortion, which there is no right to death anywhere at all in the Constitution.
and then like, and if you push it forward to the sexual revolution, dude, men are animals. Like, I'm a man, I'll say we're all animals.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's our,
It's in a man's nature to spread his seed. It's not in a woman's nature to go out and be a slut. It's just not that, and that's a fact.
right, and so the biological imperative like kind of backs it up. Like, if a man has 365 partners in a year, he can have 365 babies in a year. Technically, he could have another 100 more because of the length of a pregnancy. So a man could have up to 450 babies in a year. If a woman has sex with a different partner every year, during the course of that year, she's still only giving birth to one baby.
Unless she
So
has
there is
twins, yeah.
yeah, so there is no biological imperative for women to have multiple partners, but there is a biological imperative for women to be a caregiver and to care not just for her children, but to care for the man who's going to take care of her children in the aftermath of childbearing and during pregnancy when she needs protection and provision.
Mm-hmm.
So the sexual revolution, I think, lessened women because prior to feminism and the sexual revolution, women were held up and revered. Women were protected. Women were special. But you know what? What made them special 200 years ago still makes them special because they're the only ones on this planet that can create new human beings. I don't care what transgender ideology says. Men cannot have babies. I don't care what the Facebook emoji says. Men can't get pregnant.
No, they can't.
You have to be a biological woman to create a human being, and that makes them special. And the narratives that they push to back this crap up, that's even one of the arguments they make for abortion. Well, a woman shouldn't have to sideline her career in order to have babies. Well, a woman shouldn't be forced by society to work just to survive to begin with if she thinks it's more important to stay at home and raise her kids. And maybe our divorce rates wouldn't be at like 70% if women actually stayed in the homes and took care of the kids and their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
Because something like, what is it? Like, I want to say it was like 70% of all affairs start in the workplace. Well, if women weren't in the workplace, then they're not going to end up having those affairs to begin with.
Right. Well, why did we end up needing to have uh two incomes in the family household?
Well, that's what I was talking about.
They can go back to the central bank and coming off of the gold standard and all that BS.
It started with World War II and needing the women in the factories to produce the weapons of war. Again, some man shit.
No,
Now,
but
granted,
Well,
you still have-
we needed them for that.
right, but what it ended up doing was, again, creating that hyperinflation during World War II because
Right.
of the scarce goods and the extra money, and then coming out of the Great Depression. You all right there, B?
huh?
You all right? You look half asleep. We boring you?
No, I'm sorry. I've had about 3 hours of sleep in the last 2 days, so I'm a little
Oh,
busy.
good lord.
But no, the biggest problem I have with feminism is that they went from wanting equal rights to now making men feel like they're the bad guys, saying men are the bad guys, making masculinity evil, and now they're, instead of being equal, it's like they're trying to say they're better. And I think that's where you drag into a lot of the problems we have today, where masculinity is the evil thing in the world right now, and so it's downplaying the man, going back to abortion. Men have no rights. It's all about the woman, even though the man helped create the child, and just so on and so on. It's making the role of the man irrelevant, and saying that you have no rights to your own child. So now you have you're having a major fatherless home issue, which is causing a lot of the crime that we're having right now, because there's no fathers to teaching their kids how to be men.
And then
Yeah,
And the government has pushed them out of the family structure.
and then those men who really aren't men because they don't know how to become men are having babies and not sticking around to be with their babies, to take care of their babies, to be a man. What it means to be a man is to take care of your family and protect your family and provide for your family. And women think that they can do it just as well as a man can, but they I need my wife's help just like my wife needs my help, in raising children. And we both have different qualities that we can impose onto our children to make them better people as they grow up. A mom can teach My wife is going to be able to teach my daughters how to be a woman better than I'm going to be able to teach them how to be a woman. I can teach them good work ethics and to be strong, but my wife is going to be there to teach them how to nurture. I can't do that because really honestly, I don't really care about those things like a woman does, and who has the intuition to do that, which is why men need women to nurture them and to support them and to help them when they're down. It's like it's the same with women, but it's different. The emotional support that's required.
And to tell us when our ideas are stupid.
Right, exactly.
Well, one thing I heard that made a lot of sense is why there's a lot of men going over to Asia to find girlfriends and wives. It's because
I wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Brian?
No, none at all. Since since I've said many times in the podcast that my wife is from China, and my kids are from China. It's because, and I never thought about it, but it's because feminism has gone so far in the Western culture that now women are downgrading men, where in Asia they don't have that issue right now. Women are still women, and they're very feminine, and they play the female role. Now, to the point where when I started dating my wife, I never expected to date anyone from Asia. I just always thought Asian women were beautiful, and that's why I was on looking at. I was
yellow fever.
I was checking out. Hey, I can trace it back to elementary school, sitting in the gym, and there was a Japanese girl sitting there, and she was drawing, and I looked at her, and I thought she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. Ever since then.
That's because she was the only one of that you had ever seen.
But when I started dating my wife, because I was not expecting to date someone, I never thought in 1,000 years I would date someone from Asia and then eventually marry somebody from Asia. But I told her when we started dating, I want an equal. I don't want someone who's going to be subservient to me, because a lot of Asian women are. They play that role. Yeah, you can find equals here in the US, but a lot of times you're being beat down because you have a masculine role you're trying to play. And that's why a lot of men are going to Asia, because they're finding feminine women.
Well, and another thing is now with the whole hashtag Me Too movement, a lot of guys are like, I'd rather turn to porn and jerk off than be accused of raping someone when I'm actually having consensual sex, you know? And so women are pushing men away, and then they're wondering why men aren't attracted to them or don't want anything to do with them. Well, how about you guys stop every time you have sex with somebody and then you break up, don't go and say that he raped you.
Now, I'm going to say that all of us, all three of us, think rape is nasty, disgusting, and just horrible, horrible thing that you can do.
Oh yeah,
But like
rapists
you're
should all be
saying,
killed.
it goes too far when women are turning around constantly and accusing the man of raping them.
Right, which
Any
deters.
guy who rapes a girl is not a man.
Well, even back it off of rape, like the chicks go around like wearing nothing but yoga pants and a sports bra. And when you start talking to them and you look at their tits, they get all offended. It's like, bitch, if you didn't want them to be looked at, you wouldn't have put them out in public.
Yeah, if you didn't want me to look at them, why did you get a tattoo right there?
Right.
Well,
You're
I
you're
think there's a
base, you're
bit there needs to be-
purposefully attracting my gaze down there. So
no, I think there needs to be that line of looking and touching.
Well, and then the other
Naturally, it's biological. A guy's gonna look. I mean, we are biologically prone to look at women. I mean, honestly, unless you're gay, you
yeah,
know, it's just what
well,
we
and then
do. But we're not animals, and that's what the Middle Eastern culture tells us. We're men. Women have to keep covered because the man, if he sees something, he can't control himself, and he's gonna. And it's your fault if he takes you, rapes you, beats you, whatever, because you were showing too much skin.
but and that's not what Brian is saying. But he's saying he's using the Middle East as an example, and that's why they do that because that's what happens.
Yeah, they say very specifically that if a woman shows too much skin, then it's her fault if a man attacks her, and that is total BS. We are not animals.
Yeah,
We can control ourselves,
yeah,
but
we
women
have
have to
self
I'm saying that
understand.
we're animals and we're not animals. Men are animals. I'm sorry, we're animals.
Yes, they are, but
Some
not.
of us, the majority of us, just have more control over our inner beast,
Yeah,
or we have the advantage of having a real woman that helps us tame that beast and stop acting like an animal.
yeah. I mean,
Because
we
they
are.
show us love, they show us tenderness, they show us the emotions that we're not taught to have as kids. Because as boys, we're taught to be strong, we're taught to be fighters, we're taught to overcome struggles and not to be tender and softer and kinder and more caring. And when you take the true like courtship out of relationships and it becomes about hunting and smashing, and I'll even comment this: women complain all the time about not being able to find a real guy. Well, they're dressed like a $3 whore. You know why you can't find a real guy? Because there's a very like huge gap between what a guy's willing to fuck and what he's willing to wife.
right.
And in the US, I stopped dating women in the US because almost everybody in the US, almost all the women in the US, when they're not at work, they look like a $3 whore. They have no modesty. It's a little more of an edge in Houston where it's hot and you kind of got to wear less clothes. But yeah, I mean, they dress like tramps and then they're surprised that they're treated like tramps.
And you can't
Well,
you can't really say that just because of the temperance of the climate that you live, that you have to wear that much clothes. Look at, like Brian was saying, the Middle Eastern countries, those places get hotter and more humid than it does in freaking Houston, Texas. I can tell you that. And those women still end up wearing the black burqas and shit. So, I mean,
the cloth that they have there is very different too, though.
you mean to tell me that we couldn't get that cloth here in America? I mean, come on.
Of course we could. Of course we could. We're just not going to pay the extra money for all the natural sweat removing properties. So,
Well,
but
yes, men are
anyways,
animals, but yes, men are animals, but we're still higher than your standard animal. We do have self-control, which animals do not necessarily.
You human supremacists, you.
And we
Right, don't forget it.
and we also have the ability to recognize when we're having these thoughts, not to act on them, which is the same thing. But if you feel like you can't control yourself, we
and take
also
yourself
have
out of the situation.
we also have,
Yeah.
you know, doctors, psychiatrists that you can go and see and help you with these issues. Just like we
Well,
have just like we
and
have psychiatrists and doctors that will help people with uh gender dysphoria.
well, oh, did you see the story about this like sicko Republican like candidate for a college governance board? Like here was it, dude. This story was like creepy as fuck. The dude suspended his campaign. Like his campaign's over. He got caught wanking it in front of one of the admin buildings at one of the colleges that he was trying to run. Major problem. Also, right in front of a daycare center.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, how about that executive on CNN who, during Zoom meetings,
Oh, you're talking
he
about
thought he
Tubin.
was on, he thought his video was off or whatever, so he pulled it out and started jerking off right there, and everybody's just sort of downplayed and tried to
Right.
ignore it, and then the one girl who actually commented something about, well, you didn't do whatever with him, then she gets suspended for 7 months without even being told that she's suspended. The one conservative in CNN.
Right. But that was the legal analyst for CNN, Jeffrey
Yeah.
Tubin.
Mm-hmm. Tubin,
Yeah.
yeah. He just starts pulls it out in the middle of a Zoom meeting and starts yanking it.
Thank God he's
My
no
only
longer there.
my only question is, I never saw the video. I didn't really care. I don't watch CNN. Did he get to the tube sock shot?
I don't know what happened.
I've just heard her talking about it.
Because that's I think he should use this to like have a new career. He could shoot porn called Tubin in the Tube Socks.
Oh, does anyone here know anyone that actually watches CNN?
No.
Only in the airport.
When I'm yeah, I travel a lot, so stuck at the airport, that's about the only time I see CNN.
Yeah, I can honestly say I know nobody who watches CNN. I mean, I'll flip through and I'll watch a program for like 5 minutes and go, okay, I can't watch anymore.
As soon as I see those,
MSNBC is even worse. But
as soon as I see those three letters, I'm like, oh, I'm like when I went to my buddy from Iraq's funeral, I had to go fly up to Spokane, Washington, and yeah, the whole time I was just watching the Daily Wire.
Yeah, the cartoon news nut jobs. That's what CNN stands for. Anyway, so and then a lot of
the Clinton News Network.
That was Chinese
and
News Network.
And a lot of the I mean, women just have different natures, and it plays itself out in society. And you look at it, and they like to twist the statistics to try and support their narrative, how women are oppressed. But like you take, for example, the gender pay gap. Like this has long since been exposed, and yet our dumbass VP has brought it up multiple times. Women aren't paid less than men. If you take they take the average salaries, but if you take the average woman doing the same job with the same responsibilities as the average men, every corporation pays them the same. And when you get to executive level management, that's when you have to negotiate for a salary. Well, women stand on weaker footing when they're negotiating a salary because there is a potential in 2 years, 3 years, she's going to want to take time off to raise family, or she may have already done that. So while her resume says she graduated the same year as this guy, and that she spent her entire career doing this, she has a gap of 2 years here, 3 years here, 1 year here from having kids. And so her actual life experience is less, and her continuum of time doing the position is less. So she has less bargaining power than the guy who's been doing nothing but this for 15 years and has constant results. You know what I mean? And then there's also the point that, Brian, you're from Alaska. How many female roughnecks did you see heading up to the North Slope? How many female crabbers did you see down at the ports?
Only a few, not many.
Right. The reality is men are more willing to do jobs that take them away from their families. They're more willing to do jobs that are dangerous, that come with a pay premium. They're more willing to sacrifice comfort for income, and women are less willing to do so. And that does have a bearing on your pay.
Which that does go back to, caveman days where women were taking care of the kids, and it grew into the, your very essence, your DNA, really.
Yeah.
I mean, your code. Men went out and moved, went away from the family to take care of providing.
Yeah. The average male executive works 86 hours. The average female executive works 63.
Oh wait, you mean so an executive works 80 some hours? I mean, what happened to the whole left view of, well, they didn't earn what they actually have. They were handed it. You know, they didn't work any harder than the guy at McDonald's.
Oh, look at Elon Musk trying to get his company successful, sleeping on the floor in the factory.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Elon would sleep on the floor in his factory just so his people would know he's there working just as hard, if not harder than them.
Dude, and that's the reason I left my career. 80 to 100-hour weeks. It kills you over time.
Yeah.
What do you think? There are two reasons why men die earlier than women. One, they work themselves to death, and two, women nag them to death. So, and you know, I think life expectancy has something to do with the divorce rates too. They took that vow till death do them part, and it's just taken too freaking long. I'm just saying. But no, so the reality is as we push women into a more traditional role that would have been filled by men, they've tried to act like men, and that was like the thing about women, that they weren't men. That's what made them special. That's what made them amazing. And then I think probably like and now like you got the whole transgender movement completely destroying women. Like it's now okay for a woman to get in a ring in the case of Fallon Fox and beat the shit out of another woman. It's okay for a woman to get into a collegiate pool and like eliminate the other women's ability to compete because he has denser muscle tissue, stronger skeletal structure, better endurance,
hormones.
And we're not saying that there isn't women out there that could compete, but on average, most women can't with a lot of men because of we grow bigger muscle mass, we grow larger. It's genetics.
So for a woman to compete fairly against a transgender woman, they would have to be on steroids just to even come close. They would have to be on steroids.
Yeah, they should have transgender sports if they don't want to compete with the men. They should have women's sports, men's sports, and transgender for any transgender that doesn't want to compete against other men.
Oh, but then you're like outing them as transgender against their will. Like we can't see that fucking Adam's apple.
And here's another
bathroom thing.
Here's another thing. Okay, mentally, I mean, we already know these people are messed up in the head, but let's think about it. It has to be something in a man that makes him want to win so bad that he would rather compete against women to win. Because look, you don't see women that are transgender men competing in men's sports. You just don't see it. Why? Why is that? If what they're saying is true and they're equal and they can do the same thing, how come you don't see women trying to compete in men's sport? Because they know that they will get the knocked out of them as soon as they stepped in the ring, the swimming pool, the football field, weightlifting. They know there's no chance. There's no way that a woman would go from competing in a woman's sport at the middle to the bottom of their classification and go into a men's sport and dominate like these men are doing when they go into women's sports.
Okay, so here we go. The women's world record for the 100 meters is 10.49, held by Florence Griffith Joyner, set in 1988, and that girl was juiced out of her mind. Okay? You know when the last time men ran and held a world record at 10.49 seconds or higher? 1912, Donald Lipcott. The men's world record is now 9.58, Usain Bolt. Almost a full second faster for the 100 meters. You want to get a little bit bigger time frame here? Let's look at the world record for the marathon. The men's world record, 2 hours, 1 minute. The women's, 2 hours, 14 minutes. 14 minutes. That's like, at the paces they're running, That's like 4 miles.
Yeah.
That's like or an extra 3 or 4 miles. So women and men are so equal that at the world record level, the woman is finishing the race 3 miles or
Behind
is 3 miles behind the man who wins the race. But you look at that men's race, and the top 20 is all ahead of that woman.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at like if you ever watched the Olympic trials, you watch the 100-meter trials, you watch the women's times versus the men times. There is not a single woman on the earth that would qualify for the finals at the Olympic in the men's event. However, all the men in the world in the top 100 would win the women's event.
Which is why, like I was saying, you don't see women transitioning into men going into men's sport because there's no incentive for them. However, if a man wants to compete in a women's sport, he's going to go from being in the middle ranking file of his sport to like Leah Thomas did. Leah, what's his name for real?
I don't know. I'm not trying to get YouTubed off of dead naming.
I don't care about that.
That
Anyways, he
dude
went from being in the middle of the pack to now he's number one, beating them by meters or seconds, you know. So there's incentive for men to want to go from being piss poor in the men's division to go and being number one in the women's division by just growing their hair out, taking some hormones.
So I will say I will call people by their names that they prefer. Like I don't care about it. Like I go by Rob. Okay, it's my preference. I prefer people do it, and it's kind of disrespectful if they don't. But I'm not training. I'm not pretending that your pronouns change because pronouns don't change, and you don't get to change the verbs, the adverbs, or anything else.
See, I don't.
Caitlyn Jenner. When he was somebody else, won the decathlon. Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner was not a woman who won the men's decathlon.
He also killed some people. But anyways, I don't care. So, I'm not playing into your game. I don't care what you want to be called. If you want to be called, if my name's Brad and I want to be called Brittany, I'm not expecting you to call me Brittany, and I wouldn't want you to. But that's just me. But either way, if you did, then you're playing into my delusion, even if it's just a little bit. And I'm not going to do that. I live in reality. There is only the truth, not my truth.
Okay, but
I agree with you, Rob.
If you wanted to go by Lee, I'm going to call you Lee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that, but
so for names in our society, it's appropriate that you call somebody by the name that they choose. Because if somebody goes by Bob, you call him Bob. If somebody goes by Dick, you call him Dick.
But if Dick wanted me to call him Dick half of his life, and then all of a sudden just decided he wanted to be called Richard, I don't think he has the right to get pissed off at me because I slip up and call him Dick once in a while.
No, if you slip up, no. If you're doing it just to be rude, that's different. But like, here's the part that's like most fucked up with me. 2015 Glamour Magazine's Woman of the Year. You guys know who it is?
Caitlyn
Jenner. Never had a period. Never had a fucking baby. Never fucking did anything as a woman. First year as a woman, best woman on the planet. I think there's probably about 3 billion women at that point in time that were better women than Caitlyn Jenner. There were crackhead moms that were a better woman than Caitlyn Jenner.
Certainly better looking, that's for sure.
See, and here's my thing.
And Caitlyn Bruce wasn't beautiful and brave for it.
Nope. It just
might as well have said RuPaul. RuPaul is a better looking woman than Caitlyn is. And RuPaul is not even calling himself a woman.
Yeah, because he knows that he's not.
Yeah, because he's not fucking insane.
Yeah, that's how he chooses to live. And see, that I don't have a problem with. I never had a problem with RuPaul. I have a problem with the fucking dude that stands in the fucking store and says, "It's ma'am, sir." No, it's not. I can see your balls.
Yeah.
So, and again, being here, we're in the Philippines right now, like here, there are lady boys that look like ladies. Other countries, it's more to the extreme. Most of the lady boys here, they're just men that grow their hair out, wear makeup and nails, but they don't pretend to be women here. But this is just like further diluting how we value women.
Right. The patriarchy is taking over. And where are all these feminists? Why aren't these? It's turning out to where men can be better women than actual women can. Like you said in 2015, who was the woman on the Times Woman of the Year? And then
Glamour.
oh, Glamour, yeah.
Glamour.
And then,
That's what
the same thing.
than Glamour.
The same thing happened with this confused person that is the Secretary of Health. Same thing happened there.
Yeah.
Rachel Levine. What? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and that's
don't sound like a
and
lady. Don't look like a lady.
I love
Wasn't a lady when she worked up the ranks.
I think that like encapsulates everything that's wrong in America. That Rachel Levine is supposed to be the guide to health in America when it's a fat dude who doesn't even know if he's a woman or doesn't even know that he's a man. Thinks he's a woman.
He knows he's a man. He just knew that he could get to, like the swimmer did. He knew that if he changed to be a woman, he would get to where he needed to be, because most of the Biden administration is all adversity hires. They just check the box, just like the press secretary now.
And I mean, look at how it sets women back. Like, look at Kamala Harris. Like, to get where she is, she had to suck a dick. All she had to do was dress like a dude, and she could have still been VP.
No, because they were looking for a woman.
Oh no, but I think a transgender would have filled it.
That's possible, but they already had the Secretary of Health.
Yeah, that checks more boxes. But you know, she had to choke on fucking Willie Brown to get her political career, and all Rachel Levine had to do was put on a dress.
Well, and she had more black men stuck in prison for marijuana offenses as well, which is also kind of weird. We're gonna release.
I thought you were going somewhere else when you were talking about black men stuck places with Kamala Harris.
We're gonna release we're gonna release all the prisoners that are in prison for federal low level marijuana crimes. Oh, so you're gonna release nobody from prison?
Yeah, most of the people in jail for marijuana crimes have other charges that are violent crimes.
Right.
Because I'm sorry, I've been out on the streets for the last 20 years, and cops weren't out hassling pot dealers. Cops were out getting the pot dealers that were beating the shit out of people for selling on their corner. That's what was really happening. Or
the fact of the matter is, there's no minor federal offenses for marijuana.
Yeah.
Usually that's all handled at the state level.
Yeah, and I'll also say that you know, the whole, like, it was wrong when you did it. It was against the law. You knew the consequences. You shouldn't be abdicated the consequences because the law changes.
Right.
Like, if they raise the taxes, I don't get to keep paying the old tax rate because that's what it was at the time. If they lower the taxes, the government's not going to send me a refund for what I overpaid in previous years. The law is what it is now, not what it was then.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep. So, yeah. So I think the idea of letting people out, and then, like, of course, you know, the next conversation that they're going to have is reparations for people that were wrongfully imprisoned. They weren't wrongfully imprisoned. They were imprisoned for violating the law.
They were wrongfully imprisoned because it was the Democrats who put them there in the first place.
So, well, I still don't. I refuse to call it wrongfully imprisoned. So if you want to say the law was wrong, okay, the law was wrong,
Right.
but you went to prison for what you did.
Yep. No, I
which
agree.
was breaking the law. So there's no such thing as wrongfully imprisoned unless you are literally in prison for a crime you did not commit.
Like
Not because you
like
were
insurrection.
Huh?
Like insurrection.
Yep, nobody's been convicted of insurrection.
So those guys are wrongfully imprisoned.
Yeah, well, I mean, a bunch of them have had their civil rights violated. We're 2 years in, and they still haven't had their trials. What happened to a speedy process? And like, I think it's clear that they're being tortured and everything else too. So, anyway, but back to the feminism thing. Like, it's like even now, like I was raised to be a gentleman, because if I wasn't a gentleman, my stepdad was gonna whoop my ass. Like, for all the faults my stepdad have, I don't even talk to him anymore. I haven't talked to him in decades, but that's one thing they drove into me. You treat women like a lady and you're a gentleman. And if I wasn't, if I was impolite, if I was harsh, if I was rough with a girl, I was getting my ass beat. Now, I didn't really have that tendency anyway, so I didn't get my ass beat much, but I got it beat a couple times for it.
Right.
So, but now I'm still going to follow like the way I was raised. But when I hold the door for a woman, like when I do it, there's 3 possible options. They just go by and don't say anything, which I'd say is about 30%. They go by and they say thank you, which is about 30%. Or they go by and say, I could have got it myself.
That's when you
And that
slam
bitch,
it back into
that
him.
bitch, I said, and that bitch, I shut the door on him.
Nothing. You're not going to hear a complaint from me on that one.
So not that I like slam the door on them and harm them or anything. I just let the door
go. Right.
And nothing's more pleasurable when this like feminazi bitch gets the door, comes back to her and knocks the shit out of her hand.
I'm glad that you said feminazi. All right, I want to share a clip with you guys.
All right, hit it.
All right. Oh, what happened here? There we go.
Society hates women.
Oh, hold on.
We live under patriarchy. Huh. I don't know. I mean, I've always felt most responsible.
You guys can't hear the sound, can you?
Barely hear it.
You hear it?
Barely.
Turn it up just a little bit.
Feminazi versus reality.
Woman, we live under patriarchy. Huh. I don't know. I mean, I've always felt most responsible adults kind of see it as a grass is greener thing. Men have it hard in some areas, women have it hard in other areas. No, that's not true, because there's no such thing as sexism against men. How do you figure? Because society hates women. Why do you think that? Because it's never sexist against men. Uh-huh. Look at all these reasons that prove society is unfair to women. This proves we live under patriarchy. Look at all these ways in which society is unfair to men. Those don't count. If society exists to privilege men and oppress women, those things can't be the result of sexism. No. If society exists to privilege men and oppress women, those things wouldn't happen. All you're doing is rejecting evidence that men have it difficult in some areas so that you won't have to adjust your original theory that sexism only happens to women. That's called circular reasoning. Look, I can do it too. We live under matriarchy. Look at all these reasons why. See how hard men have it? You're selectively editing out the negatives of being a woman. Look at all these ways in which women have a hard time. Oh, sweetie, no, those don't count because we live under matriarchy.
By definition, sexism against women doesn't count. It's really problematic that you don't recognize this. And the fact that so many women deny the patriarchy exists is really...
Oh, I love it. Awesome.
Itself.
Oh, please, give me one example of why men have it hard, besides all of the examples you've given. Okay, men make up 93% of workplace fatalities, and no one ever talks about it. Well, yeah, but that's only because women are kept out of dangerous careers as a result of sexism. Unbelievable, unbelievable. I just pointed out one of the most horrific examples of sexism that exists against men, and you still find a way to make women the victims. We are the victims! It's called benevolent sexism. Benevolent sexism? You mean female privilege?
Oh.
It's not privilege. It's just being given a nicer and easier way through life as a result of the way you were born. Yeah, okay, two can play that game. Give me an example of sexism against women. The wage gap? The wage gap only happens because men are discouraged from taking care of their children and working less hours. The wage gap is actually just benevolent sexism towards men. Poor me. No! Benevolent sexism against men can't exist because we live under a patriarchy. How loudly do I have to say this before it becomes true? You know what? I don't need this. I have to go anyway. I'm late for a seminar I'm attending. What's the seminar about? Why gendered language is problematic. So stop mansplaining at me so I can go be a patriarchy fighting feminist.
That was pretty awesome.
If you'd like to use your white male...
That's hilarious. Oh man.
I need to get on.
Well, it's called Freedom Tunes. They're on YouTube. You can subscribe.
Yeah, that's funny.
That was classic.
Oh my god. It's funny that he made a lot of the like points I just said. I didn't even like mention like the men dying.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they're more likely to die, and that's part of the pay disparity.
Well, yeah. How many women did you see working the cruise during Hurricane Ian, the cleanup of Hurricane Ian, or the response to Hurricane Ian? You didn't see none of them were working the gas lines or the gas trucks or working on the electric lines.
Are you assuming their gender?
I guess so. I guess so. But I guarantee you, if you went and asked them, they wouldn't be like, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm Zer, I'm Day Dem."
Nope. My name's John. I'm about to fix this wire.
If you got a problem, a problem with my non-pronouns, I will smash you in the head with this hammer.
Yeah, I could get electrocuted while I'm doing this. For some reason, no woman wants to climb up this 150-foot pole and get electrocuted. So I'm gonna go do it so people can have power.
Right. That's the patriarchy, though, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think, and like looking at the rise in domestic violence numbers, I think that there's an aspect of it that is different, that's kind of overlooked. So people have a fight or flight reflex where that's instantly their response. And now you're encouraging women to be more aggressive. And I mean, dude, it was a horrible video, but you look at the Ray Rice video.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's all in his face and pushing him, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually, like, his fight or flight reflex, and this is a guy who's trained for a decade to be a freaking gladiator. So his instinct is fight, and he punches her one time, drops her. Well, first of all, I don't think a man would have come down like that. So clearly men and women are not equal in that respect. Second of all, yeah, what kind of woman like gets in a face and gets physical like that? And if you get in a face and get in somebody's face and get physical, if I go out and I get in random guys' faces, sooner or later somebody's gonna freaking clock me.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing with these women. If you get, I literally like, I knew somebody. I won't use names, but I knew somebody who would literally get drunk, get in her boyfriend's face, punch him, kick him. Like, once I saw her try and stab him, and in that instance, when she tried to stab him, he smacked the fucking dumb shit off of her, and she called him an abuser.
I would say he was in the right.
You know what I mean? But this
I mean,
is
look,
something that
If a woman if a woman is man enough to hit a man twice, then she's man enough to get hit back. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But well, like you said, women feel empowered to get into a man's face because they know that that man is not going to do anything. Because
Is that your wife's song?
I was gonna say, is that your wife behind you?
Oh.
Her shoulder keeps appearing, and one point her head appeared.
Oh, probably.
Hi, wife.
Well, she left now, so she heard me say that, and she was like, "Fuck you, motherfucker." But no, it's seriously like that is literally
yeah, but does
literally
your wife get in your face and start punching you? I don't think so.
No, she would just hold out on me, thinking that that was gonna work. I'm like, hello.
Oh my god, you should pull up the stand up bit about the house without a bathroom. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
That one was hilarious.
I think we've all heard that one.
Is sex the only reason I'm with you? No, it's not. But the bathroom's not the only reason I bought my house. But if you took it away from me
And
for a month
use
at
it
a
only
time,
once a month.
yeah, I wouldn't be happy.
Once every 2 years.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, poor Rob.
Wah.
Rob's got a bunch of fucking stiff socks in his fucking small house. He doesn't have he doesn't have floorboards. He just lays down his socks.
I do have floorboards. Very posted on.
You know what? Don't anyway. Everybody knows that was a joke, Rob. You don't need to defend yourself.
That is like so. Oh,
where are all these socks on the floor I'm walking on, and they're crunchy and hard?
Why does it feel like I'm walking on eggshells?
Dude, one of my ex's friends was dating this guy. Kyle. His name was Kyle. Of course, his name was Kyle. This dude was such a whack job. Like, if he saw a girl that he thought was sexy walking down the road, he'd like pull over and wank it. Girls don't randomly pull over to flick the bean.
No.
Like, it's another example of how like completely different men and women are.
I don't know any men that just pull over to yank it either.
Just from a girl that they saw. Oh.
Yeah, no.
Have you ever pulled over to yank it, Rob?
Not from a girl I saw. No.
I've never pulled over to wank it. I have actually wanked it while driving. Just saying,
dude.
I'm not gonna pull over. I'm making good time.
Dude, that semi doesn't pull up next to you and look down.
Well, it would have to be a truck driver or something. But
you guys know the Bloodhound Gang, the band?
Yeah.
The one song, and he's like polishing it. We'll go an 85 and an 18 wheeler with a milk carton in your hand.
What? Oh crap!
The name of the song is "The Lap Dance is So Much Better When the Stripper's Crying." So, kind of gives you an idea how messed up that song is. But he wasn't missing that good time either.
Mom, I'm looking for a word that rhymes with pussy. What? Can't you just use a different word? You mean like box or vagina?
So, anyway, wow. We do get off the rails sometimes, don't we? Yeah. So I think but it is also this whole feminism thing. It is like leading to an increase of violence towards women, but I think in part it's because women aren't acting like women and they aren't using their fucking brains. Like, you know, if I walk down the road in the ghetto holding $1,000 in each hand, it's not right if I get robbed, but I should expect it.
Right.
If you're a woman and you're dressed like a $3 whore and you go to a party and you get wasted to where you're barely standing, and then you go off to lay down in a room with a guy, if he takes advantage of you, it's not right.
he
But
shouldn't
it's
do
just
it.
as stupid as me walking through the ghetto with money in my hands.
He shouldn't do it. It shouldn't happen, but don't be surprised when it does.
Yeah. And so that's my thing is like women are like putting themselves in dangerous situations in the name of feminism because they should be equal and able to do whatever you want. You know what? Everybody should be able to do everything that we want, but even men have to make smart decisions or we're going to have consequences. And it is not a smart decision to say the bakery's open for cookies and then be surprised when somebody tries to steal a cookie. Like my
You gotta go
euphemism
for a
there.
piece of that cookie, Rob.
Get your own cookie. Anyway, so I mean, so like, and that's why I think some of the trends are like boosting up, and I think now men are even like perhaps to a degree like even more pent up like anger and rage and hostility because like we're constantly under attack now. Like there is nothing more evil in the world according to like half of America than a straight white man.
And masculinity.
Yeah, and then you like go and like put them in confrontational situations. Now, I mean, I was in a situation where I had some woman like literally bust a computer over my head.
Yeah.
And I still didn't lose it. But like that was the closest I ever got to losing it. And I'm just like,
that was a
Well, this man right here almost lost a finger to an abusive woman.
yeah.
No,
he lost part of the finger.
Well, Rob, that computer incident was a long time ago.
It got infected and
no,
shit.
but I'm like saying like even me, like I think most guys in that instance would have snapped and clocked her one.
Well, according to the family crisis centers, 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. Now, that number is pretty low. I mean, but 1 in 4 men, that's a lot. But those are probably just men that have actually like reported it, right? Men aren't taught to be victims, so they're not going to.
And I can tell you my experience from my history. Psychological and emotional abuse is real, and women are way better at it than men ever thought of being.
You've been through a lot. I can testify to that,
dude. And you know what? And you know what's funny about the abuse of women? They're really fucking good at making the guys feel guilty when they call bullshit on it. And like they further their abuse by making the guy feel guilty for trying to stand up for himself. And that's a fast forward of like feminism because like women are the victims.
Right.
How dare you accuse me of cheating? You've got cum dripping down your leg. You're an abuser.
You have cum dripping down your leg and we haven't had sex.
Yeah.
So like it's fucking crazy. Like it's just weird how they fucking twist it. And like and the funny thing is it almost seems like the better the guy is, like the more traditional like male role, like kind and caring man who's like the provider type who's going to take care of a woman, those are the men who get treated the worst because they do try and be kind and caring and sensitive, and it gets manipulated, twisted, and abused.
Anybody you know like that, Rob?
Nobody.
And women take advantage of that, and because that they know that there's not going to be any repercussions for it, they feel empowered to do so. So
yeah, exactly. So but I think, and now like I mean, what the hell? Like that woman got beat by like 5 teenagers on the bus in New York, right? All these men standing there just watching. The bus driver has an emergency alarm on his bus to call the police in the event of violence on the bus. He didn't even push the button. Man can't even fucking push a button anymore to stand up for a woman. Why? Women can handle themselves. You're denigrating the woman if you come to her aid.
which is wrong.
Like how?
That's
Yeah,
what
how many?
that's what men are programmed to do. They're
Yeah,
literally programmed to stop and take care of a woman in need, which is why, like when you seen in Beverly Hills Cop 2, the big tall blonde bitch, she would use her fucking broke down car to get the police chief to stop and help her so that she could kill him, because they knew that men were predisposed to stop and help a woman.
yep. And nowadays, the man would run her over if she was standing in the middle of the road.
Yep.
So, yeah, and the whole way it's taken society, and like it's just like horrendous. The repercussions of the feminist movement, like it's destroyed homes, it's destroyed families, it's destroying women.
Well, it's destroying America.
Yeah, and then like, and obviously feminism doesn't exist because all these black men that you have attacking Asians all over the country, they don't say anything about it because when blacks are more oppressed than Asians. So yeah, we're not gonna even talk about that.
Right.
Well, how about the Asians being blocked from Ivy League colleges because there's too many Asians going into, the sciences and mathematics and everything.
Because
Yeah,
they're better at it.
Yeah,
Well, because they put a priority on education.
Well, I mean, because of the because of affirmative action, our only actual racist law on the books, it requires a representation in colleges. So if 90% of Asians have higher test scores, like I think it's something like you got to have like a 1200 SAT score if you're an Asian in order to make it into the 5% that are allotted into each class.
Yeah.
If you're white, you have to have like 1100, and if you're African American, you only have to have 1000.
Well, to be honest, that's one thing I worry about with my kids because they're Chinese. So we put a priority on education. We make sure they do a certain amount of school after they're out of school every night. Well, now they're going to be punished just because they're Chinese and they're going to work hard.
No, start now. Tell them to identify as black.
Yeah.
Identify as a person of color.
The twins, Roy, identify as a girl. Nikki, identify as a boy, and you might be okay.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
And if anybody asks you about it, just be like, "Oh, it's Asian culture. What are you gonna do?" They're not Chinese. They're Thai.
Yeah. They're from Thai.
Anyway,
they talk Thai.
It's the whole thing's just gotten disturbing to me. Like, I mean, I've sustained injuries coming to the aids of women, and I don't understand a man that can stand by and watch a woman hurt.
No.
So like, yeah, and a generation of men raised by women has made pussy women or pussy men. Like, sorry, but you get what I mean. Like, I mean, nobody was there to teach him to be a man. That you stand up for a man. That you defend, or that you stand up for a woman. That you defend a woman. Nobody was there to teach those men how to be men. And like, again, that's like, for all my issues with my stepdad, he taught me how to be a man.
Well, I think my parents were of their generation from the 40s.
Yeah.
I look at a lot of the kids that are my age and their parents are from the 50s and 60s. And it's like, dude, what did you learn? How did your parents teach you? Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah. It's just,
nobody really ever taught me, that you don't hurt a woman. But I do know when I was a kid, I would see my dad would abuse my mother sometimes, and it would really bother me. And then whenever I would see a female crying, something inside of me would tell me that that's not right, and that I should go, talk to him and see and try and make him smile instead of cry, because it hurt my feelings to see a woman crying, which I don't know where that came from, but I guess maybe it's just the way I was wired when God made me.
Well, I mean, and that's the point. It's like it's a man's nature to like protect and defend women, but it has to be encouraged, because like any other good or bad behavior, the encouragement is what determines the direction. Now, I know you have your issues with your aunt and uncle too, but you were removed from that violent situation.
Well, that's not why. It wasn't always like that. It just
No,
happened.
I know. I'm
The
just
the
saying.
reason, and they're not my aunt and uncle. They're not even any relation at all.
Yeah.
So
I know, but you get what I'm saying.
No, I'm lucky. I had a wonderful example with my father. Never saw him raise a hand to my mother or treat her badly, ever. And he taught me that you do not do that to women. And in fact, he put me through the wall once because he felt I was being disrespectful to my mother. Like, you never do that to your mother, ever. I mean, literally,
Like,
he grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and he put me through the wall.
right, you saw what a douchebag my stepdad was, but he was always respectful of women.
Well, I mean, same thing with my son. I grabbed. He was so disrespectful to his mother once. I picked him up by the scruff of his shirt, by the scruff of his neck. I literally picked him up and I told him, if I ever see him do that again, don't, don't. You don't want to see me upset like that. You do not disrespectful. You do not be that disrespectful to your mother or any other woman out there.
and that's probably the only time that he's ever going to see you be like that.
Oh yeah, well, it's about the only time he'll see me that angry is when he treats his mother like that. That's there's no excuse to disrespectful to be that disrespectful to the woman who gave you life.
Right.
As
You
a
know,
matter of fact,
my parents' generation, my mom's generation always had the same. I brought you into this world. I can take you out.
Yep, exactly.
my one school fight in junior high was because of a guy like slapped a girl that I went to church with, and like afterwards in the hall, we got in a fight, and it was the lamest fight because neither one of us could fight.
Dude,
That's
I've
the
only
way
had
they
one
usually
fist fight
are.
in my life, and that was with my twin brother in 5th grade at recess. And the principal took us into the office and said, "Okay, you guys, your twin brothers, figure it out at home." And then he let us go.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it does seem that feminism is dead though, but hopefully it stays dead because I think it's a good thing. So as long as we can get rid of the transgender ideology and leave the feminism in the trash can, hopefully we can start recovering society a little bit. We can get women acting like women, we can get men acting like men, and like heal our society a little bit, because I think that's the problem, is that our society is dysfunctional and broken.
Well, I think one reason that a lot of us can say feminism appears to be dying is because it did go too far, and a lot of the normal women now, because the majority are finally coming up. It's just like conservatives. The majority of people really are conservative, but they're quiet. They don't like to get out there and push it and do that stuff. It's the same thing with feminism. They don't like to get out there and be the front line. They don't like being visual. It's the quiet majority or minority that's out there, the loud minority that's out there and causing a lot of these issues. So
Right, you got to lose the hat. That is annoying as hell.
Oh, dude, I like the hat, man. Leave him alone.
I like the hat, but it just keeps.
You need a hat,
But
5 head.
finally, the women, the majority of women are finally starting to say, you know what, enough is enough. You're going too far. You're throwing representation out there that we don't actually want, and
That is
you
fine.
need to
What the
stop
fuck?
it. So
Right. No, well, it's like this whole Me Too movement. You know, that we all know that it has been well documented that people can lie. But the whole
women
hashtag,
excel.
the whole hashtag Me Too movement, which, if you ask me, is silly. The first time I saw it, I was like, "Pound me too? What? Pound? You want to get pounded too? Like, seriously?" I was like, "When did the pound symbol become a hashtag?" Like, for all my life until I saw this hashtag Me Too movement bullcrap, I always thought that was the pound sign, right? Because
It was Twitter.
when you're doing when you're on the phone, they say enter your card number, then press the pound key. Well, is that the pound key or is it the hashtag key? I don't know. But what makes it even more funny is when they found out that the hashtag was really the pound symbol, which made it pound me too. It was kind of silly. But no, so the whole hashtag Me Too movement was all about believe all women, right? Believe all women. Well, women aren't always 100% honest. We know it's been well established that human beings lie. So, or even just mistaken, right? We just saw that on Matt Walsh's What is a Woman, right? So, I mean, what someone considers rape after they had been having consensual sex for years, and then now all of a sudden it's rape. But I mean, come on.
Well, but a lot of,
Come
a lot
on,
of
man.
yeah, like I said, a lot of these women that
I
are
go,
finally coming
come
out,
on, man. I got some booty in my diaper.
a lot of these women that are finally coming out and talk and speaking up and bringing this end to the feminism movement that's been taking off so much in the US. It's because they're tired of they're seeing men losing their masculinity or not learning how to control it. And most women actually like masculine men. They don't want feminine men, they want masculine men. And that's what a lot of them are saying. I mean, I was really lucky to have many wonderful examples of what a woman should actually be with my two older sisters, my mom, cousins. Uh, I can understand where Rob's coming from because what he did a lot of driving and he saw what a lot of women were like when you're driving and you're seeing what they're like in the back seat and they don't think you're kind of invisible because you're just the driver. But I can tell you that I can pretty much guarantee that I would never hear him say anything like that about one of my sisters or a lot of my cousins and stuff. It's just because that's not who they are.
Right.
And Rob can leave.
But
I don't know. Once your sister gets in my car, but no, I'm sorry.
What he's talking? No, I know your sisters, and like that's actually something I've always said is my level of respect for your sisters.
Yeah,
and that they're good. Well, and I think the tie-in there is they're good, godly women.
Yeah,
I think that has a lot to do with it.
And they had wonderful examples.
Yeah. So, what he's talking about, Brad, is like in the early days of like Lyft and Uber. Like I was out there all the time, and literally, like the crap that would happen. I'd pick somebody up at the airport. They'd be a 45-minute trip. They'd be on the phone with their like husband for like half an hour and their kids, and oh, I love you, baby. I already miss you. Blah blah blah. Oh man, the flight sucked, and I got stuck there. I was waiting for like 4 hours. I can't wait to get to the hotel and go to sleep. I'm just gonna check in and crash. And then they hang up with their phone, and they're like, "Okay, now I'm gonna drop off my stuff at the hotel, and then you're gonna take me to my boyfriend's house." Or like I'd say probably 70% of the women that I picked up and was obviously taking them back someplace for a hookup, the women were wearing wedding rings and the men were not. So like, yeah, I lost all faith in American women doing that job.
Oh yeah, dude, when I moved being in Texas, I realized that people didn't take the vows of marriage very seriously in Texas. I had heard of like almost every married man was like having an affair. I'm like, this is not this. I'm like, this ain't right.
Oh, we could go on that like here, like.
But like, what was the ratio of the races? I guarantee you probably didn't see a lot of Hispanics or Latin people doing that. Really?
Yeah. It kind of costs. But like I'm here in the Philippines where like Pinoy culture and family and all of this. And like I can tell you, one of the neighbors right down the street here, every day, the husband goes off to meet his mistress before he goes to work, and the wife goes over to the neighbor's house.
Well, how about the woman who is obviously married but is always playing with her breasts and whenever you're walking by?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that chick, like, yeah, that's it's weird when you're the outsider and you get to observe things. And like my observation here, now don't get me wrong, I love Filipino culture. I love the way they treat people in general, but like more in the village, not in this. Cities ruin people. That's what the deal is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what your experience is there, Brad. You're in the city. Cities ruin people because like here in the city, like like half the women in the city are literally prostitutes. They would take money for sex, and part of that's economic, but part of that's just the morality in the city, because you go to the same people living in the province here, and if they got a boyfriend or a husband, they won't even talk to a man. You know, so it's cities that just destroy culture. They destroy, and that's where all these stupid ideas like feminism come from. And I mean, it's from stacking people in together like rats, and we're not meant to be. Like, and to give an idea, like how bad the stacking
Well,
is.
then it makes it just and it also makes it easier for that to happen.
So here's the part that I thought was interesting. Like, you take New York City, for example, the population density. No, not New York City. What was it? Shanghai. You take the population density of Shanghai and center them in Houston, Texas. You could put all the population of the world in the area of Houston, Texas, and the area would be so small it wouldn't even make it to Dallas.
Yeah.
So that's how bad they're like. And these cities, they give people a kind of anonymity. You know, I know people aren't like out exercising their worst behaviors in these small villages in the provinces here, or the small towns in the country. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's business. There are no secrets.
I can say you're right with that Shanghai Houston analogy, because I lived in Houston with you for almost a year, and I've spent time in Shanghai. So
yeah, but Houston's spread out as hell. I mean, it may be growing like crazy, but it's really spread out. Like my house, I work in Houston, but my house is 70 miles from the center of the city.
Well, considering Houston would be considered a small town, a small city in China, population wise, not land wise.
So it's but it's just like insanity. And there, what keeps people on their toes? Well, culture scores, or what is it? Social responsibility scores.
Yeah, where they watch what you do and what you say, and then your purchasing ability is by whatever score you have.
By the way, me saying that just got us kicked off TikTok. No, I'm kidding.
What are we on TikTok for, anyways?
We're not on TikTok. Eventually, our promos I'll put on there. Yeah, the whole thing's a joke. I'll start the rap. Normally I don't, but I'll start the rap. And all I've got to say is it's kind of a lecture. Men, start being men. Own up to your responsibilities. You make babies, take care of them, raise them, show them what a man is supposed to be. Women, stop the bullshit. If you want a man, you got to support a man. You got to be soft. You got to be gentle. Because guess what? Dudes already got fucking in their guy friends. They don't need you to be masculine. Be soft, be gentle, be supportive emotionally. Help him in the areas where he's weak, so he can help you in the areas that he's weak. And let's get back to a classical society. And I'm not talking of patriarchy, because I'm sorry, there is no patriarchy. I've never seen like it's even funny. Like, everybody asks dad's opinion, but mom makes the decision. And there's very few exceptions to that.
We all nod our head.
Yeah. So there is no patriarchy. There never was a patriarchy in the family. There are certain things that the guy has the final say on, because he has the greater knowledge in that area, so he makes the final decision. Outside of that, the women have always been in control of the house. It's always going to be that way, because women are better at it. So women, get back to being what you're good at, which is being women. Men, get back to doing what you're doing, and don't be the punk ass bitch that sits there and watches a woman get hurt. Like, yeah, that's my rap. That's all I got to say on it. Like, feminism is dying and it needs to stay dead.
Hey, Brad, don't worry. He'll do the last rant too.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you, Rob. 100%. We need men, take care of your families, take care of your wives, respect women, take care of women, treat them with the dignity and respect that they deserve, because they're going to take care of you. And women, you need to take care of your man. Otherwise, he's not going to stay there for you. basically all a man wants is to come home to a clean house, a hot dinner, and occasionally some sex. That's it.
Full belly, empty balls.
It doesn't take a lot to please a man, but the man's got to be there to take care of her needs as well, and you got to be understanding and patient. Marriage isn't an easy thing, and dating isn't an easy thing. It's something you got to work on, and you got to work together. You got to know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and help lift each other up for both of those things. And get some morals. Have some morals. If you don't want to believe in Jesus or go to church, then we all know what's right and what's wrong, and we just need to get back to like what Rob was saying. Take care of each other, and don't let any man abuse a woman, because that's wrong. And that's all I have to say. Brian?
I had to laugh when you're giving the example of what men want, because there's videos on online right now where it's a comedy scene where the comedian's explaining what women want, and it's showing the video of the women sitting there nodding their head the whole time. Yep, yep, yep. Call her beautiful, bring home flowers, bring home chocolate, take her shopping, and there's like 300 things on the list. And the woman the whole time is going, exactly, exactly. And then women, what you need to do to keep your man happy, provide sex. They just start cracking up, and all the men that are listening are sitting there going, that's pretty much it. That's all you really need.
That's all we really want.
Just keep us happy. Just provide sex once in a while. No, the fact is, we all agree feminism had its place in history, and it was important when it happened, because women were in a subservient role, and in a lot of cases were valued much less than men in a lot of cases. And I think it was important historically for women to become more equal, but it's gone way, way too far. Now they're trying to put women into more of a man's role. And a woman can be in a man's role, but stop devaluing the man and telling him that he has no value and that masculinity is wrong, and just trying to destroy that. It's wrong. Feminism has gone way too far, and it's destroying the family culture that America has grown up around. I don't care if a man stays home and takes care of the kids, or the woman stays home with the kids, but usually it's the woman, because it's just like Rob said, genetically, it's in their genetics. That's just what women do. They're more of the caretakers, and the men are more of the let's get out of the house and earn the living for our family. So feminism is gone way too far. Finally, people are starting to fight back, because it has gone way too far. And we just need to keep going in that direction, and stop destroying the very foundation of our culture.
Okay, for all the revelers out there, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell, make sure you like, make sure you comment where you can comment, wherever this is posted, because we're getting out and more and more platforms. And I guess the final the final word that I'm going to have to say on this episode today will be the guidelines for a happy family life. Brian just kind of listed down all this stuff that, women are more complicated than they want, but men will do anything to please a woman, as long as the woman provides the two things that a man needs: a full belly and empty balls. You guys have a great night. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Later.